The Empire are perhaps the most iconic race in the entire Warhammer trilogy, which is pretty telling seeing as it's a game with dinosaurs and demons. After their many reworks, they're one of the most diverse races in terms of gameplay variety, from the Empire Uniting Karl Franz to the Colonising Markus Wulfhart. So let's take a look at how to play them in 2025. And if you want to get all videos ad-free, then consider becoming a member of the channel for just $1 a month. All the same videos with zero interruptions, even without YouTube Premium. Anyway, let's get into the Empire. One funny thing about the Empire getting approximately 5 reworks since release is the fact that they don't really have any shared mechanics anymore. They all have most of the same buildings and units, but with a couple of exceptions, each faction has mechanics that none of the others make use of. So with that said, let's change things up and get straight into these factions. First up we have Reichland, led by Karl Franz. His first mechanic is Imperial Authority and Prestige. Imperial Authority is pretty much a measure of how much of the Empire lands are under Empire control. Their lands stretch from the band of mountains starting at Bretonnia and ending in Sylvania, and go all the way north to the northern coastline and border with Kislev, so there's lots to collect. The more of these lands are under Empire control, the more bonuses your faction gains, like bonus growth, control, income, and more frequent use of the Elector Count state troops. However, if they fall out of your grasp, you'll instead suffer penalties to all the same effects, which can grind your campaign to a halt. The other aspect of this mechanic outside of controlling Empire lands is making sure all the Elector Counts are getting on with each other, and that's where Prestige comes in. It's essentially your influence over the other Elector Counts and can be spent during the frequent event pop-ups to settle arguments between counts or provide aid to those in need. It's mainly gained through battle and certain Elector Counts events. We also have the Electoral Machinations. This is a set of actions you can take at the cost of increasing amounts of prestige. You can cheapen and speed up recruitment in a province for a short time, grant a lord a large chunk of XP, immediately grant a province a growth surplus, massively reduce corruption in a province, instantly complete a turn of recruitment for an army, spawn a temporary army at another Empire faction settlement to increase fealty and aid in battle, instantly replenish all Elector Count state troops, declare war on another Empire faction without losing fealty with other Elector Count states, and confederate any Elector Count faction with 10 fealty at the cost of decreasing the fealty of everyone else. Obviously, there's a lot of good stuff here, but the most obviously powerful is Unify. My Karl campaigns revolve around getting everyone's fealty to 10 and slowly unifying them all under one banner, whilst securing borders for a massive amount of territory and resources. One last thing you can do on the second tab is adjust relations between Elector Count factions. It's niche but useful for getting some passive fealty increases or averting conflict. I'd advise saving as much prestige as you reasonably can to spend it here for massive value. He also has, say the line guys, the Elector Count. Since Karl is Emperor of the Empire, his faction can gain all kinds of bonuses when in control of each state. These bonuses come in 3 forms: Elector Count state troops, which are soul-like regiments of renown that replenish over time, unique and powerful items to equip on lords and heroes, and bonuses for both the faction and specific lord. It's well worth collecting all the states and installing lords as Elector Counts whenever possible, as all the rewards really do add up. Be sure to place lords where they get the most value, such as a melee battler in Middenland, where they'll get a powerful weapon and frenzy. Lastly, for a staggering amount of prestige, you can quite literally summon the Elector Counts to teleport all available lords to Karl's location, essentially teleporting a giga army wherever he is. As for the rest of his effects, as Emperor, he's granted a free pass through all Empire lands without suffering any diplomatic penalties. He also gains much more allegiance points, so can unify with his Elector Counts or fellow members of the Order Tide to a much more powerful degree. The more allies he has, the faster his faction grows, and all armies under his banner move faster around the campaign map. His own army is widely respected and as such is permitted to replenish in any neutral territory. All state troops in his army also have a reduced upkeep and gain improved damage for every level of XP they acquire. The goal for Karl is pretty self-explanatory given his collection of mechanics. You want to grind fealty to the max for as many Elector Counts as you can and confederate them to collect the Infinity Stones of Empire factions under one banner. Gathering all of those Elector Count bonuses and units stacks up to make you into one unstoppable faction. And when you add on the bonuses from having maxed out Imperial Authority, it's a no-brainer to try and secure your borders as fast as you can. The best way to do this is to make the most of any events that allow you to increase fealty, increase diplomatic relations with other Empire factions, and aid them by battling their enemies and gifting them back any factions they lose. Given Karl's central starting location, it makes the most sense to clear out the starting war, and then take the fight to Marienburg. Once the coastline is secure, you can roll east taking on Greenskins, Chaos, and eventually the Vampires as you bring more states to heal. Once your borders are secure, you'll have a massive amount of territory under your control and be able to go in any direction you fight, whether that's helping Kislev take the fight to Chaos, tame the Badlands in the south, or even take on the neighbouring Bretonnia. Next, we have the Golden Order, led by Balathazar Gelt. His mechanic is the Colleges of Magic. This is a mechanic that totally changes how Balth recruits wizards to his faction, and it all starts with arcane essays, and no, I'm not talking about naked Jakey wearing a wizard hat. These are a secondary currency earned by battling with wizards in your armies. They can be spent in the colleges of magic where you can recruit more wizards, and much more. There are temporary buffs for every law, such as buffing your armies, replenishing movement range, and who can forget use of cataclysm spells for a limited time. There are also permanent unlocks along the bottom, such as items for your casters and reduced cost for spells. The Law of Metal is unique in that it allows you to unlock exclusive items for Balth himself, alongside the cataclysm spell Gehenna's Golden Globe as a bound spell. Mechanics aside, you are really encouraged to spam wizards when playing as Balth. Not only do his armies gain increasing winds of magic capacity for every cast that they have, all battle wizards gain bonus XP upon recruitment to give them a boost in power level from the start. He trains all spellcasters fighting alongside him, accelerating their XP gain and his army as a reduced cost for the Law of Metal. Lastly, his expertise with this law grants all units increased armor at all times, making them extremely tough to take down. It goes without saying that wizard spam is the name of the game when playing as Balth. The more you have, the more arcane essays you collect, meaning more wizards and more upgrades for them. Mechanics aside, the Cathay Stein location comes with the option to buddy up to Zhao Ming to protect the southern border, so you can go along with that or choose to go against him. No matter what, the area is full of Cathay, undead, and a whole menagerie of different foes to take on. If you want some more direction, use the Victory Conditions overhaul and take over all of Cathay, set out to take on the Chaos Dwarf Wastelands, or make your way home to Karl. Honestly, just use that mod 100% of the time anyway, since it improves almost everyone and is what I use all the time. Next up, the Hunt's Marshals Expedition led by Markus Wulfhart. Marky Mark and his funky bunch have been shipped over to Lustria to build up an empire in the New World, and are rewarded for progressing this objective in the form of acclaim. The more settlements they capture and the more ports they upgrade, the more acclaim they'll earn. At the start of the campaign, the low level of acclaim means you're unable to build recruitment buildings for the majority of the roster, and will instead need to rely on imperial supplies to fill your armies. The more acclaim you earn, the bigger and better these supply drops will be, and the more elite the troops you'll receive. You'll also unlock the rest of the recruitment buildings, so eventually be able to build as many armies as you want. However, expanding into Lustria is sure to anger the Lizardmen, and not only will you suffer from reduced relations, you'll also have to deal with hostility. This is his second meter, and it's basically a measure of how aggressive the locals of Lustria are to your presence. The more you battle, expand, and raid, the higher the hostility will climb, resulting in reduced control, empowered enemies, and eventual incursions. The upside is you also speed up Imperial supplies, so you can at least have some aid during the dogpile. Speaking of which, Mark can also enlist the aid of his 4 old hunting buddies from way back in his second year of the Imperial College before he dropped out to pursue hunting. These take the form of an unmounted paladin, a witch hunter, a master engineer, and a waystalker. Each of these are unlocked and upgraded by completing a series of minor objectives, such as being at war with specific factions or visiting specific settlements. My best advice for this campaign is to speedrun getting all of these and completing their quests as fast as you possibly can for an extremely strong stack to fight alongside Markiplier. All of this aside, he's the head hunting honcho, so all huntsman generals under his command gain bonus XP on recruitment from his expert training regime. And naturally, since he's essentially colonizing Lustria, the lizards, they just kind of hate him. Everyone using a bow in his army pays reduced upkeep, presumably from his teachings, and forcing them to collect all of their arrows post-battle for recycling. His hunting expertise also grants his army improved chances at both avoiding and setting ambushes, making them very hard to sneak up on. And of course, he won't work with anyone that can't easily navigate a forest, so all units in his army can move through forests no problem. To me, Marky is all about collecting his 4 Hunters of the Apocalypse and completing their side quests, whilst trying to desperately survive against the onslaught of Lustrian resistance. This campaign can be a real challenge, but even for someone who doesn't love hard games as much as me, I find it to be incredibly rewarding. The limited roster forces you to really choose what units to recruit from supplies to make the most of your army. The climbing hostility forces you to constantly be ready for a fight and likely do a lot of manual battling to come out on top. And the 4 heroes can be pretty dang powerful if you complete their questlines. He may be missing his big final showdown with Nakai now he's on his Cathayan vacation, but there's no shortage of enemies for Markus. Secure Lustria by any means necessary, and try to max out the acclaim bar to unleash the full power of the roster. Next up, the Cult of Sigmar, led by Volkmar the Grim. His mechanic is the Books of Nagash. This one is super simple, and stolen from the Tomb Kings, but with a slight twist. Whereas other factions seek to secure the books and use them for any malicious means, Volkmar wants to seal them away. Each book comes with its own bonuses to the faction when collected. This is alongside the Bookometer along the top that fills up as more books are sealed away, providing increasingly powerful bonuses for the faction. The books are spread all over the map, so if you want to make the most of this, I'd build up the biggest army you can and send it on a world tour to collect them all. As the leader of the Cult of Sigmar, Baldy has no shortage of skilled witch hunters and warrior priests clamoring to work under his banner, and whenever they do, they can make use of their powerful abilities far more often. He's also a man of the people and empowers several lower tier units in his armies, making for cheap but devastating battles. He buffs those same units even further when battling alongside them, making them much tougher. And wherever he goes, the blessing of Sigmar follows, increasing control and keeping settlements happy. Like everyone with access to the Books of Nagash, the mechanic is more of a suggestion than something to work towards from the first turn. I'd focus more on securing the desert and clearing out all the unholy and undead that you can to give yourself a good base to leap from when you decide it's time to go book hunting. The desert may be large in actual size, but it's really only a handful of provinces and factions, so once you get on a roll, it will be under your control in no time. After this, you can do a grand world tour to collect as many books as you can with one army, whilst continuing your conquest with others at home. Volkmar's expertise using low tier units makes it easy to field multiple armies of less expensive but no less powerful enemies, so capitalize on this whilst you can to use numbers to your advantage. That said, the books won't be given up without a fight, so build up your librarian army before you send it out into the world, or you might find it's the one getting put up on the shelf. And lastly, we have Wizenland and Nuln, led by Elspeth von Draken. Elspeth is the only other Empire lord to make use of Imperial authority. She doesn't have prestige or anything else, but she does gain faction bonuses based on how much of the Empire is under Empire control. She also has the Imperial Gunnery School, and this is her unique method of upgrading gunpowder units. To do this, she needs schematics, and this is a currency earned when gunpowder units deal damage in battle. They can then be spent on upgrading each group of units through 3 tiers. To reach the higher tiers on more advanced units, you'll need to upgrade the Gunnery School, and this can be done by fielding gunpowder units, building related recruitment buildings, and making use of upgrades. Upon reaching tier 3, you unlock the Amethyst tab. This allows you to increase your capacity for Amethyst units, which are essentially empowered versions of existing Empire units. There's a set of upgrades exclusive to these units, alongside being able to unlock powerful army abilities for use in battle for massive damage. She also has the Gardens of Moor. Upon reaching turn 5, you'll gain access to the Gardens of Moor. These can be built in any owned or allied settlement you have vision of, and once built can do a couple of things. First of all, they can be built inside of, similar to Undercities, but they only have a single slot. Your building choices are upgrading magic reserves and recruiting Amethyst wizards, unlocking recruitment of the Knights of Moor and empowering armies against undead, and upgrading the Mother Settlement's garrison and upgrading recruitment. You can also teleport Elspeth to any garden, allowing her to get around the map much easier, albeit at the cost of a small amount of gold. Her gunpowder expertise continues, granting all armies of that kind reduced upkeep and double experience, making for armies full of powerful shooters. And her technological superiority allows her to research much faster, likely to further increase the power of her guns. As a Law of Death magic user, she grants all units in her army immunity to vampiric attrition and reduces the cooldown of the Law of Death. Elspeth's campaign really does revolve around the Gunnery School. Your focus for most of the first 50 or so turns will be on maxing out the tiers of both the school itself and the units within. This means lots of spamming gunpowder units and farming kills to farm even more schematics. If you really wanted to min-max, then manually doing all battles to maximize gunpowder kills is the way to go. But no matter what, you'll be making use of a lot of things that go bang and need someone to aim them at. Given she also has the Imperial Authority meter, it only makes sense to use them against the enemies of the Empire, and the closest one of those is the Vampire Counts. With their hordes of undead, there's no shortage of fodder for your cannons, so mow them down and farm an ungodly number of schematics in no time. And don't forget about the Gardens of Moor to teleport Elspeth around the map, which comes in super handy when securing the Empire. She may not have as many tools as Karl, but she more than makes up for it in firepower. But what I want to know is, who's your favourite Empire Lord? Please let me know in the comments down below. Like if you did, subscribe for more, and if you want more faction guides, then check out this one all about the Ogre Kingdoms.